What's going on, guys? I test drove a car and the Supra came out, so let's talk about it. Alright, so let's start with what I just test drove. I test drove it on Saturday. It is now Monday when I'm recording this, and plus I'm sure you guys have heard everything about the Supra already, so I'll just save that to the end. So let's talk about what I drove. So you might have been able to guess it already, but I drove a BRZ and I drove an auto, which was not what I was trying to do. Anyway, it is cold right now in Cincinnati, and I don't think anybody's really selling BRZs, so the Subaru dealerships don't really have them. I also looked at CarMax because I wanted to go there and test drive a few cars, but they don't have any BRZs as well. I went to local Subaru, which said they had a manual online, didn't have one. All they had was an auto, but to be fair, I really don't care because I'm getting the manual no matter what, and I've heard the manual's great, so I'm not too worried about how the manual transmission actually feels. I just want to get a feel for the car as a whole. And to be fair, the automatic is pretty good in that car. But anyway, the actual driving portion. So I went to the dealer, got in the car. It was over $30,000 sticker, which I'm buying used. I just went to the dealer to drive it because it's the easiest place to drive one of them. I wouldn't be buying it new. I would definitely get something used to keep the price down. The sticker was over 30. It was fully loaded. It was the limited model. The interior was nicer than I thought it'd be. Maybe because I'm coming from a middle tier WRX, but I actually liked the interior and how everything looked and was laid out, and it was mostly good surfaces. I think it was less hard plastic than the WRX, so that was definitely a plus. But first impressions was sitting down in the seats, and they didn't go as low as I thought they would, but they were still pretty low. I like my seat kind of pretty much sitting on the pavement. Not as low as I thought, but man, those seats are so much better than the stock WRX seats. I have the middle trim, and I think the Recaro seats came out in the future years of the WRX, and it might be some kind of sport package to get that, but I just have the traditional seats, and those seats are okay at best, I think, in the WRX. They're not really comfortable at all for long road trips, and they're okay to hold you in when you're doing some tight corners, but man, the seats in the BRZ just hug you, and they're very nice. I don't know if they'd be comfortable on a long road trip. I think they would. I just only spent 10 minutes in the car, so I can't tell you that. But those were really nice, and that was my first impression. Second impression was easily the steering wheel, which is also phenomenal. Man, that steering wheel is by far the best steering wheel I've ever touched or used. It is very small, which I love. And then something about it, I don't know what it was, but it was a fantastic steering wheel. It wasn't as thick as the WRX. WRX is a very thick steering wheel. This was a lot thinner, but I really like that steering wheel. So then basically I took it for a drive. Oh, man, it was probably like 20, 25 degrees out and on all seasons, which never really warmed up. And even if they did, it's still all seasons in cold weather. So that was something that I definitely noticed. The steering input was so sloppy, and I know it's because it's on all seasons and it's really cold. So that was a little off-putting. I know that car really needs some sticky summer tires and to be in, summer weather. I don't know if Toyota and Subaru did it on purpose, but I know they put on some kind of skinny, they always called them Prius tires because they were the same tires that came on a Prius. And it's something I'm sure you could kick loose very easily, and that might have been part of the fun factor of it, but you could definitely notice it in the steering feel. I liked the input from the steering wheel, but just the steering feel when you can feel the tires kind of not doing exactly what you want when you do it. That's probably just a tire thing, but that was something you noticed right away when you started doing your first couple turns. So then I took it on the freeway and went straight from first gear, used the paddles, made sure to take it to redline, and it is slow. But we all know this. We don't have to beat a dead horse here. We all know it's a slow car. It's meant for corners. That's fine. You can always do performance modifications to it, supercharger, turbo, but supercharger seems like the route that's easiest to go. It's something I would probably do if I got that car, just because I don't think I'd be able to handle how slow it is. But other than that, overall impressions were pretty good. It really felt roomy in the car, which I was a little bit surprised about. I love the size of the car as a whole. I love that it's small. When I got in, I thought I'd be very squished and tight. I'm on 5'10", 5'11". I feel like I'm a pretty normal sized guy, and I felt like I had plenty of room. My arms were fine. Everything was fine. My wife was in the car with me. She liked it. She said it was maybe a tad small for her, just a tad maybe cheap for her. I mean, it's a cheap performance car. It's going to feel a little cheap inside, but overall she liked the car a lot, and I thought there was plenty of space, and I really liked it. So unfortunately, this was the only car I was able to drive on Saturday because my wife had to actually be somewhere, and she was with me test driving the BRZ, and I want her to be with me for the other couple cars I'm looking at test driving as well, because I do want her input. The other car that I was looking to test drive on Saturday was my secret car, which I know you guys hate me because I haven't told you what it is yet. I swear I'll tell you if I get it or don't, but I'm actually really leaning towards a secret car, which makes me want to keep it a secret until I get it and surprise everyone. The problem with the secret car is that I want a very specific trim of the secret car. And I've heard that this trim is a lot better than the base trims or the other trims, but it's really hard to find this trim of this car. They are very few and far between across the nation. So for that reason, I'm scared to drive that base trim and maybe have the secret car ruined for me, but I don't think there's any of the trim I want in Cincinnati. So I was actually looking around for the secret car and the color I want, and there's actually one in Chicago and there was one in Atlanta, but it actually sold recently. I was in contact with that dealer because it was something I was thinking about transferring up here to really check out. It was actually a CarMax dealer and they were gonna ship it to Cincinnati and I was going to look at it. I would have had to pay for the shipping fees, but it might have been worth it. So anyway, I didn't get to drive the secret car, but I'm considering heading up to Chicago because Chicago has actually like the exact one I would want, same color or the exact color I would want. And I have family in Chicago anyway, so it makes a whole trip out of it. I can't get off the next couple weekends though and get up there, I don't believe, or get off of work in the next couple weeks. So we're gonna see how that goes. I might get up there and I might actually buy it. And I'm really interested in this car because it's such a unique car. It is something I never see. I like unique cars. I know the WRX is not unique, but I do like cars that no one really has on the road. And there's some of these cars on the road, but this trim I've never seen in person. Never seen it on the road. So I think it'd be something really cool to have in Cincinnati and something I would really enjoy. And I would also have, it's hard to explain, but slight history with some of the components of the car. If I get the car, I'll explain what I mean with that. And then lastly, I just want to touch this real quick. Genesis Coupe is something I completely forgot about until this past week. I looked for some in Cincinnati and I can't find any in Cincinnati. I mean, all these cars I want, I can't like find to test drive. I'm not sure if I would want this car, but it was something I looked at like a few years ago. I think maybe when I was buying my WRX, I was looking at this car. I thought it was a cool car. I would definitely get the V6. I heard it's actually a lot better than that Turbo 4. I'm just not as interested, I think, anymore in that car, but it was something I thought of and said, maybe I should drive it still. So we'll see where that goes. All right, enough of test driving cars. Supra, real quick. I'm sure everybody's sick of the Supra, so I'll make it real quick. You guys, I'm sure all know all the specs. You saw it launch. Last time I talked to you was 2 days before I think the Supra launched, and now it's launched everything we thought it would be. Automatic only, all the BMW components, it's 50 grand. It's cool looking. I just don't think I want an automatic. I think the more I've sat on it and really contemplated it, I don't think I want an automatic, and I don't think I especially want to spend 50 grand on automatic. I think my goal is to get something that's 30 or less, 30 grand or less based on my secret car is kind of probably around 30 grand. BRZ I would get somewhere probably closer to 20, 30 grand or less, and then we'll see what I want to do with it. And then if in a couple of years, maybe they'll make the manual Supra. I don't know if it was the CEO of Toyota or someone high up in Toyota said they might make a Supra if there's enough demand for it, a manual Supra if there's enough demand. The only way there's enough demand, I guess, is if you don't buy the automatic, but I'm worried if you don't buy the automatic, they'll think no one likes a Supra and they'll just stop making it and not want to invest money in a manual. I don't know, it confuses me of how you show demand without buying. Or without buying or not buying, I don't know. So Supra is what it is, cool car, but I don't think it's for me right now. Maybe in the future, I'll buy, in a couple years, I'll buy a used one, an automatic or a manual, if that's possible, or if they ever make it. But anyway, that's about it for the video. I'm just talking again. Hopefully I'll have an update soon and talk about what car I buy. Man, I would love to go up to Chicago and look at that because I might just buy it there. We'll see what happens, but I think February will probably be the month if I can find some time. Middle to late February, I probably have a little more time to go find this and maybe test drive a secret car and buy it. And then you'll know and you'll stop hating me for not talking about what the secret car is. Maybe you'll guess it in the comments. Who knows? Anyway, I'll talk to you next time. See ya.